These are these are the three biggest mistakes I see people make when they try to heal their gut with German new medicine. My name's Mike, the Heal Your Gut Guy. I used to have bad Crohn's and colitis, and I help people fix their gut with my 13-day protocol. So German new medicine was created by Dr. Hamer, and essentially he could look at your brain CT scan and know exactly what any health conditions you had. And he came to the conclusion that it all starts after a traumatic event. And when you initially hear that, you think that, oh, I need to come to peace. I need to resolve this conflict. I need to fix this traumatic event. And in some cases that's true. In other cases it's not. It depends on the situation. But when it comes to healing the gut, these are the three biggest mistakes I see people making, and it really, really holds them up. So the first mistake I see people make is they wait in the healing phase, air quotes. So what does that mean? So represents our nervous system. We have the conflict shock here. It puts our nervous system, in fight or flight. You will not have symptoms during this time. It's creating extra gut cells for most conditions. Then the conflict gets resolved. The body no longer needs these extra gut cells, and it starts to get rid of them, and that's when you get symptoms. And then we have the epicrisis. That's where you get the fever and the water's being pushed out of the tissues. This means you're kind of like over the hump. And then there's like a little, it's called PCL2 or PCLB, or the scarring phase. Now, some people so you'll hear that like diarrhea, it's a healing symptom. Like you're diarrheaing out these dead gut cells we no longer need. And in some cases that's true, and usually like 20%. And the way that you know is you wait out the healing phase when you have the fever, because the fever means that the brain relay that got put into overdrive is healing. The actual brain relay is repairing itself. So yeah, you wait that out, and with gut issues, it's like a week or so. It really depends on the situation, but usually it's like a week or two, like 2 weeks tops, of having like really bad symptoms. But what I see some people do is, oh, it's diarrhea, you need to be happy, that's a healing symptom. And they will literally say this to themselves for months, if not years. What's really happening in this case is they're encountering tracks from the traumatic event. Tracks are subconscious PTSD triggers from this traumatic event. Maybe, you got the bad news from a text message or a phone call. So now every time you get a text message or a phone call, you get diarrhea. And the way that you fix that, isn't giving yourself a pat on the back and saying, oh, great, I have diarrhea, I'll be better soon. That's better than panicking. But you need to find the track, find what this is. And in my 13-day protocol, I take you through that process. The funny thing about trauma, or the annoying thing about trauma, is that a lot of it's not in our conscious mind. It's buried in the subconscious. Especially if it's been going on for 5 years, it's buried in the subconscious. So you need that's the fix. It's bringing these subconscious PTSD triggers to consciousness, and not just sitting there and going, it's I have diarrhea. Oh, let me look at the little chart. Let me look at the chart. Oh, it says diarrhea is a healing phase. That's great. And like 6 months later, they're still having diarrhea, and they're like, man, when's this healing phase going to get over? You're trapped in the healing phase because of these tracks. The vast majority of you. Sometimes it's conflict relapses, but for the most of it, where the conflict's off and on, but for the vast majority of you, it is tracks. We got to track them down and bring them to consciousness. That's how you neutralize a track. And if you think you've neutralized it, but you're still having symptoms, then you did not neutralize it. You did not identify the correct conflict shock, and you did not identify the correct track. So the next big one is suppressing. Well, let's start with the other one. People kind of come to German New Medicine. They go, I'm not upset about this at all anymore. I broke up with that boyfriend a long time ago. I don't think about them anymore. Like, why am I still getting symptoms? I don't, this is not a problem in my life anymore. And a lot of the times when I see people talk like this, they didn't identify the right, conflict. And even if they did identify the right conflict, oh, I was stressed out with my boyfriend, with my girlfriend. Okay, what was the shocking moment? That's what we need to identify, that shocking moment, because that's where the PTSD triggers are formed. When did your symptoms start? We take this psychological approach because that's all we know. A lot of the times you do not need to come to peace with the actual conflict. It's already resolved on some level. It's already been resolved on some level. It's just stuck because of the subconscious PTSD triggers, which is not consciously your fault. Your subconscious did this without your conscious mind's consent, unfortunately. So I see a lot of people investing a ton of time in I just have to not care about, my boyfriend being mean to me, my girlfriend being mean to me. And that's really not resolving the conflict. Resolving the conflict would be more of finding a better partner, or communicating better with your partner, or developing better social skills so the relationship with your partner is better. That's more of actually resolving the conflict. And this brings me to my third point, is a lot of people are just suppressing their emotions. Oh, I'm angry? Don't be angry. You're literally stuffing it down and giving it to the subconscious to deal with. It's okay to be angry. Anger is because of the memories floating around in your head from your past experiences, this thing makes you angry because it threatens your survival, and you feel like on a subconscious level you can fight it. Well, that's all anger and frustration is. You encountered something that you feel threatens your survival, and that you are able to fight it. Sometimes that thing is linked to your gut. Many of the times it's not. So, and this is why, I see so many people get lost in psychology land, for such a long time, where when I work with somebody one-on-one and in my 13-day protocol, I have you guys hyper-focused. The conscious mind is a liar. And that's a conflicting statement, because the conscious mind is a product of our subconscious mind. You can't, the things that your conscious mind is saying is bullshit most of the time. Seriously, you have to be you have to let your symptoms do the talking. Oh yeah, I was really angry with my boss today. Oh, okay. Did you have symptoms today? Well, actually my symptoms were okay. Okay. Just because I said the conflict shock is indigestible anger doesn't mean that everything that makes you angry is going to send you to the bathroom. This is why I literally, when I do coaching calls with somebody, literally 75% of the time, is just hyper focused on refining and building that timeline. And some, the people who really do well, they have like a list of 100 things that sent them to the bathroom, at least what they were doing when they ran to the bathroom. So like that's really the therapy, is bringing these subconscious PTSD triggers to consciousness. They're buried in the brain. I mean, most of us can't even remember what we ate a couple of, I don't know what I ate this morning. I can't remember. I'd have to sit down for a few minutes to remember it. So, and some of these things happened years ago, months ago, years ago, decades ago for some of us. And so, what my 13-day protocol is designed to do is to give you these exercises just to give you the correct perspective to what to look for. Because, half the time what I see people doing is they're waiting around for something that's never going to come, or they're focusing on completely the wrong things just because this is not common knowledge whatsoever. And when you read this book, love this book, love Dr. Hamer, love his books, but he literally gives you zero, and I mean zero, guidance on therapy. A lot of a lot of people he treated had cancer, so they were conflict active. So, in that sense, it's very practical. It's like, okay, what was the conflict, and we need to deal with it. But those of us with gut issues, most of us have resolved the conflict on some level, and it's just the subconscious PTSD triggers throwing our gut in and out of overdrive, in and out of overdrive. They're really two different games we need to play. And the second game of finding PTSD triggers is just, it's not a thing. I think they talk about it in Scientology a little bit. I think they call them engrams, but that's like really the only like mainstream therapy type that I've seen. So yeah, go down in the description and check out my webinar. Like, subscribe to the video, it helps me out in the algorithm. Leave a comment down below. What would you like me to make a video about? But I have like a mini version of my 13-day protocol. You can sign up for it down below, or it's going to be in the end screen right here. You can just watch it right here. Bye.